Hi everybody, I thought I'd share a video of my koi pond. You maybe have seen some of my previous videos on maintaining and tips for a cold weather climate koi pond. And those videos are all done in various stages of disarray and cleaning. And when the koi pond is really at its worst, in the middle of winter, there are significant challenges to running a koi pond in a place like northern Alberta, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, and it's fun when you get midsummer or late summer when the koi pond is at its peak. So I thought I'd share what the koi pond looks like when it's really at its peak, and a few of my top tips. So as you can see, I've built kind of like a Japanese style koi pond to fit the scale of the yard. It's only about 4 by 8, and this makes it a little easier to maintain. It's got some advantages dimensionally, the 4 by 8, for purposes of maintenance in winter. A small footprint pond is easy to keep from freezing with just a simple single trough heater that I put in, and the koi stay in the pond all winter. But let's look at the pond at its peak, and again, it's a really, if you haven't ever thought of putting a koi pond in your yard because your yard's too small, well, think again, because it's amazing what you can do with a small footprint. I have about 10 koi in my pond. They've been with me for almost 20 years, so they're getting to be a pretty big size. Water right now is at maximum clarity, and I hope the fish love it as much as I do. This is a wonderful little pond feature I came across at a garden center a long time ago. And if you do have one of these features, that a spouting feature or some sort of fountain feature, it's always great in terms of extra aeration. Don't really need it in the sense that I've got a pond filter. You probably see it at the bottom of the pond there. You can't go too small with pond filters. Of course, you don't want them totally dominating your pond, but the outflow from the pond filter really disturbs the water enough to make sure that there's plenty of aeration. So the koi feature in the middle is really unnecessary, but I like it just because it's so pretty. I also like my koi bubble, and so do the koi. The koi often come up into the bubble and explore, and it's great to see them through the lens of the bubble. So if you ever get your hand on one of these, by all means grab one. They're a little bit hard to find, but they're great. So a couple of my biggest tips. One is this pond is almost 3 feet deep, and I would really strongly recommend, if you decide to make a koi pond, is to go deep, because what that does is keeps your water keeps the water at a nice steady temperature. Because if you make the pond too shallow, all you're going to have is the water heating up too much in the summer and getting too cold in the winter, and that's just going to mean stress on your fish. So it's always great. It's always my biggest tip is always make your koi pond deeper. And koi, when it's sunny out, prefer to go down to the bottom of the pond because they really don't like really bright sunshine. So slightly deeper also makes it better for the fish. In the summertime, I have one actively growing plant. I I highly recommend these papyrus plants. They grow fast, and one of the nice things is, of course, it's pretty, but they also take out nutrients from the pond. Of course, where the fish are pooping, they're generating nutrients in the water that otherwise would probably be used by algae. So having an actively growing pond plant can really contribute to cleaner water. My other tip would be, of course, is and it's a really no-brainer, is to regularly clean your filter. And you're just going to have to watch your water and learn on your filter changes, your filter cleanings. In the bright days of summer, you're going to have to clean your filter more often because there's more algae in the water. And that leads me to my next tip, because at the headwaters of my stream, let's see, I've built a stream here, and nice little barrel assembly just for fun because it's pretty. But down at the base here, I have the water going through a UV filter, and you can grab these on Amazon. Just search UV sterilizer on Amazon, and you'll get some choices. And I highly recommend it because they really do a good number on the algae. They're excellent at killing algae. So if you're wondering how this works, there is a submersible pump in the pond right about there, hidden in the corner, and that pump drives the fish fountain, and it also sends water up a hose which is buried underneath this river, and that comes out of the ground right about here, and that leads up into the top barrel. But before it goes into the barrel, it goes through the UV sterilizer, and I have the electricity running to that is buried underground, so that's what's providing the power. Now, another tip, again in terms of controlling algae in your fish pond, is if you have the ability to situate your pond in an area where there is some cover from sun, that would be great. And you can see here I've got a really nice crabapple tree and a willow tree, and they both provide a large amount of shade. And I kind of got lucky in the sense, because I put this pond in a long time ago, and these trees were much smaller when I put the pond in. But I kind of guessed right in the sense that they would kind of overhang the pond in time, and they do. And anything you can do to keep direct sunshine out of your pond, that's going to help you control algae. And I already mentioned the depth of the water, because a deeper pond is also going to be great. It makes your fish happier in terms of steady water temperature and algae control. But also, you have to consider where you're located. Again, I've been trying to make these tips aimed at people who want to put a koi pond in a cold climate, like northern Alberta. But you might be in an area where you have something like herons or birds that might come in and eat your fish. And that's another reason for having a deep pond with sharp edges, because I've never had a bird steal any of my fish, because there's really no place for them to stand. And if you make a pond that's shallow and you have some of those nasty fish-eating birds that fly over, they'll come in and they'll clean your pond right out. The only time I've ever had I've lost a fish, I lost a fish once, and a skunk wandered into my yard, and even he must have had trouble catching a fish, because he only caught one and pulled it out, had a big meal, and that's the only fish I've ever lost. So I really hope you like the pond, and if you have some of your own suggestions and for a cold weather climate koi pond, by all means put them in the comments, and please like this video, and if you can, subscribe. It really helps me out. And also, just a reminder, if you're just getting started up with the idea of putting in a koi pond, or you're trying to figure out how to get your koi pond working properly, I will put links to my other videos regarding cleaning the pond and keeping your fish alive during the cold, deep, dark winter. So thanks again for watching and checking out my koi pond videos.